Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Candidly Kesha. It's another Monday, y'all. We made it. We made it. Tonight, I am so happy to present to you two special guests. My colleague, my council colleague from District 1, Alderwoman Bernetta Bryant Lanier, and CEO of Ivory Bay, Dr. Deidre Grimm, who is also the director of the Farmers Market as well as head of CDC, um, CCDC. Listen, um, I don't know about y'all, but the pollen has my head clogged.
Yes.
Everything is just awful, awful, awful. So, Alderwoman Lanier, I'm grateful for the tea, but I just don't think it could compete. It just, the pollen just keeps coming and coming and coming.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight, we wanted to pause to share our platform and talk about the commemoration activities as well as the festivals that we have coming up for the Weeping Time. We know that this is an important marker in the history of Savannah that we are essentially trying to save and keep alive. And you ladies, for the greater part of our term on council as well as pre-council service, have been working tirelessly to do just that. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, tell me a little bit about Ivory Bay, the mission and the organization of Ivory Bay. You can throw in there the recent celebration of the Grand African Ball where Ivory Bay was a recipient charity. And then let's just jump right in and talk about the festival and some of the activities you have planned for the Weeping Time.
Sure. I know Alderman Lanier, this really was her baby until I came along. I'm sorry if I'm echoing. But needless to say, Ivory Bay was started in 2009. Yeah, 2004. Okay. I don't know why I always, you know what? I have too many hats, like you said. So 2009 is another entity, but in 2004, Ivory Bay was started as a remedy for the health injustices, the environmental injustices, the impoverishment of the west side of Savannah, specifically the first district. And as a CDC, we have been struggling for what is this, about almost 20 years coming up. And realistically, Alderwoman Lanier and her husband have been graciously putting into the organization prior to me coming on. And while most CDCs work with local representation in government, Ivory Bay never had that chance to be at the table. We've seen it replicated in Compton. We've seen it replicated in Detroit, everywhere around the country. But unfortunately, Ivory Bay never had that chance at the table. And all we're about is making sure that we create generational wealth and low wealth communities using asset-based economics and community development strategies, because we know that the greatest asset in our communities are our people, especially being of Gullah Geechee heritage. You think about, what do? We made baskets, we made bricks, we made food. We built this whole city, we built this economy. But unfortunately, the first district, specifically the West Side Corridor, has been, left out. And so when Alderwoman Lanier asked me, did I want to take on this role? I said, of course. My background is in urban planning, public policy, and design. And so this is what I studied. And I felt that I needed to make sure that the next generation has the tools that they need to succeed, because if not, we'll leave them derelict. So that's where, and I'm quite sure she has a lot to add on to that.
And I want to give her a chance to do just that. And you can segue into this area, Alderwoman Lanier. Dr. Grimm, you so eloquently acknowledged that the goals of Ivory Bay was to focus on some of the environmental injustices in our West Side communities. And upon the arrival of Alderwoman Lanier's term, her tenure on council included advocacy in those areas. She was then poised to be able to advocate a little bit stronger, notwithstanding the fact that we're still in the minority. So there's very little that could be achieved with regard to some of aggressive policy initiatives and ideas she had. But I have been taken aback by her ability to now demonstrate that not only do those injustices uh, exist in the on the west side, but in the far west end of our city, the Highlands, which is annexed into the city of Savannah, a part of the city of Savannah. And Alderwoman Lanier, you oftentimes recognize it as the highlands and the lowlands. And you will demonstrate how growth, when it's not smart, is just as invasive as it is within our lower wealth communities. How have you delicately balanced uh, those two dynamics as Alderwoman at large for the first district? And I've seen firsthand your advocacy for the Highlands as well as for the West Side.
Yes, thank you, and good evening to your audience. The federal government created community development corporations as an opportunity and a way to get the little guy at the table with the big guys who are making all the decisions about their community. It's about community building, and it's about embracing and attacking public health, negative public health outcomes, negative public health intrusion. And there's so many intrusive ways that people come into low wealth neighborhoods, be it industrial intrusion, be it commercial intrusion. Well, growing up, being the poster child of a multi generational person coming from the West Side, you know the history in the West Side. We've been here for generations. There's 7 generations of my family that have lived. This is our land, and I'm in that fourth generation. So, as a public administrator, as a political scientist, as an economic developer, um, I understood how government works. I worked in local government for 14 years, and I had served as the president of the neighborhood association. My dad was instrumental in formulating our neighborhood association, which was the first neighborhood organization. And what that was about, bringing from tactics from labor, how you speak collectively, you organize people to collaborate and speak in a collective voice up against the powers that be. So, in looking at what was going on in Savannah, the West Side was on a clear trajectory for poverty, poverty, poverty. And it's not about what our people did, because we were instrumental in creating that original wealth in Savannah, that free labor, but it was about what was being done to us. And having that skill set and growing up in that environment, I knew that we needed to incorporate some tools that was going to change the trajectory. So we embraced that foundation of a community development corporation to get away from poverty reduction. The government, the local government, was all about, in the early 2000s, poverty reduction, poverty reduction. And we knew we didn't need to reduce poverty. We needed to create generational wealth. And the tool we needed to drive us, that vehicle to drive us with that upward mobility, was a community development corporation. Although we wanted to start at home and spread, the same intrusive uh, threats that we have on the west side, the same threats that they have in the Highlands. I visited a young lady today on Highway 17, and they're being closed between a trucking company and apartment complex, and they've been out there for generations. So it's the same problem on the west side. We're experiencing this massive growth and development, and we haven't been using smart tools, smart policies to make sure that the people are protected. The leaders in the past were all about the developers and the builders and the chambers and the CETAs, and they were providing for them everything that they needed and want, but they did not look to the primary civic stakeholder and stockholder, who was the resident. So I understand my assignment. It's about empowering, and Dr. Grimm doesn't like that word. So it's about emancipating people so they can sit at the table and speak collectively. And there's an old Gullah Geechee saying that says, "We speak for we." We speak for we. So we are capable of speaking into existence our needs and our desires as people who live in low wealth communities, so we can create the community that we want. We can design the outcomes that we need and some that we want.
Alderwoman Gibson Carter, if you indulge me for just 2 seconds, the reason why I can't stand the word empower, it gives this thought that we never had power.
Mm.
We, the people, were always ingenuitive, we were innovative, and we had power. It was just our power was usurped and undermined. And we see that continually happening throughout cities across the country, even here in Savannah. And so let's speak to the root of the issue. Our people were in bondage. So I use the terminology as opposed to empower, I use liberate or emancipate, because I want our people to be emancipated in their mindsets and liberated in their thoughts, because poverty and lack is not what we are designed for. We always created wealth, such so much that I named one of my children after Mansa Musa.
Awesome. I love that. Words are important and words do matter. As we culminate Black History Month, we recognize, as I have been saying, 1 month is not enough to hold the historical significance that we have within our culture and some of the various meanings. With that said, that brings me to having an opportunity to recognize our continuous effort to educate and to inform, not only where words are concerned, but where issues are concerned. And one of the primary issues that we're facing now, it was really one of the biggest major issues that we were met with when we came onto council. Alderwoman Lanier, you called me and Alderwoman Miller Blakely as the at-large representatives to support you as you met with an individual who was interested in presenting some schematics as it related to developing a homeless shelter on the west side. We now know that the intended project was for the weeping time, and you educated us to the extent that this would not be a particularly good project in nature for the community, in that they rather were seeking to add on a existing vulnerability to a pre-existing vulnerable community that was ignored for years. That's the first district, the West Side, and underserved and underdeveloped. And so, as a decade-long advocate for homeless services in the city, at first, when I was first met with the whole piece, it didn't sit well with me because it reminded me a lot of what most consider the NIMBY syndrome. But one of the reasons why I was so excited when you won, as I've stated before, you by far are the most educated person on our council when it comes to these issues. And I appreciated the fact that we engaged in a manner in which we agreed to disagree. But once you explained to me why it wasn't a good idea to put a homeless shelter on the Weeping Time property or anywhere in the West Side, whether it was a Weeping Time property or not, and you gave the background and information as it related to some of the goals that you had for the community, it was clear to me. And so that's where, as professionals, you have an opportunity to agree to disagree, but you also open yourself and you open your mind to understanding. And it was then that I understood. Help the audience be clear on what your indication was. It was not necessarily we don't want these homeless people in our neighborhood, because for me, once I saw the project, I recognized that homeless citizens needed to be closer to the services, the secondary services that they need. And moving them all the way out on the West Side corridor would move them from the inner city of where most of the services like healthcare, Department of Family and Children Services, Social Security, unemployment, so forth and so on, in addition to the limited access to transportation to get to those places. But you had even more far-reaching reasons why. Help us with that.
Mm-hmm. But thank you. Yes. So West Savannah, the community, it has 3 neighborhoods. the West Savannah neighborhood, the Hudson Hill neighborhood, and the Woodville neighborhood. All sisters and brothers and family used to live throughout these neighborhoods. And right in the center of those three neighborhoods where they come together, there's a piece of land that is the Weeping Time property where in 1859, March 2nd and 3rd, the largest sale of enslaved men, women, and little baby Valentine, 2 weeks old, was had on that property where 429 people were sold. Now, when you are designing place making for neighborhoods and you want certain outcomes, you could design for that. So when I got elected, I got a call from attorney Robert McCorkle to meet him at his office. So he wanted to share with me a project that his client was proposing for that property. And his client was the Salvation Army, although he also represent the housing authority. So I don't understand that how one attorney was representing both entities in a government transaction. And he said that they had been trying for many years to raise the $500,000 to purchase the land. And so I don't like to attend these meetings alone. So I did ask you and Alderwoman Post 2, Alicia Miller Blakely, and Pamela Howard Oglesby, a longtime advocate, to attend with me. And we all agreed that it didn't sit well with Pamela and I, most of all, because we live here and we've been here for generations, that it didn't sit well with us. West Savannah has an average of 30% poverty. Some enclaves have 80 and 90% poverty. And the last thing we needed was more poverty dumped on top of that poverty. We wanted to design a different community. We wanted to design for different outcomes. We wanted to be able to create generational wealth. We needed affordable housing. We need green space. We need economic generator. We needed to create something that would create jobs, some retail. So this is what we need. We all in this community agree that we don't need more industry. We need to have some community retail to service the needs of the residents. And there's two pieces of property that we're talking about. The Bradley Lumber property has maybe about 20 acres, almost 40 acres. And then it's the old Bartow Homes property that belongs to the Housing Authority. And this is the part that was so contentious. Now, when they look at doing these type studies, they often say that they protect the land, the Bradley Lumber, and also the land in proximity to it up to 5,000 square feet. And that land is clearly 9 giant steps. Now, 9 of my giant steps across Stratford Street is where that property lies. So it should have been protected. And the most ideal thing was to be able to create an economic generator right there, the housing piece and the food piece and the green space piece. But McCorkle said in the meeting, well, it's nothing over there. Well, we're there. We've been there. And we were the ones that fed Savannah because those plantations turned into municipal farms where our people sharecrop. After coming out of slavery, they sharecropped on this property until they were so industrious. They fed everyone out of Savannah Market downtown. And then they saved enough to purchase the property that we still exist on today. So we're going to fight this fight because this is our home, this is our heritage, and we don't want more poverty out here. We want to be able to create generational wealth. We want to be able to be sustainable, resilient, and we want to be able to drive our people out of the conditions, out of poverty, and up to upward mobility. And we wanted to do that by using certain tools that the government created to give us that opportunity, like CDCs and like all of the other public policies that we need to put in place. But when you do that, you're going to take away someone else's ability to decide what happened to your community. The master plan dictates that our communities won't even be here any longer, although this city was built off of free labor from our ancestors. Now they want to push us out of here. And so the masters of these days is a different master. Because if you look at the demographics, the majority of the population in this town is African American, and the majority of those are women. So the master plan needs to be redone because the new master in town, and she looks like me. So we have another idea of what we want our community to look like, how we want our community to grow and prosper. And we want to be the one, we speak for we. We want to be the ones that sit down and negotiate for outcomes. Now, when you work with asset-based community development, you identify assets and you make them become true assets and contributing to your community. And that's an asset over there. That's probably the largest asset in this side of town, in the northwest quadrant of this city, is that Weeping Time property, because it's not only an asset for our community, it's an asset for this city, for this state, for the county, for this nation.
Mm-hmm. And that's essentially how I see it. And so fast forward, the proceedings with regard to the petitioner uh, to set in motion um, the 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 acquisition and subsequent sale and purchase of this property was all kind of convoluted. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's now tied into some legal matters. And I'm hoping that Pastor Small will come on and bring us up to speed on the status of the proceedings with the Weeping Time. But you all have decided that you're not going to give up and that you're going to stay
Never.
in the fight and keep pressing and stand in the fight and keeping the press on. You, for the last couple of years, have presented to the city of Savannah the Weeping Time Festival. And each year it's grown to have more and more elements to it. Dr. Grimm, you've done a great job of putting all those pieces together. You want to tell us, you guys together want to tell us about what we can look forward to and what people should start marking their calendars for?
Sure. Every first Saturday of March, we hold the Weeping Times African Unity Festival, where we use this as an extension of Kwanzaa Crawl, an initiative to ensure that our local Black businesses are being able to be patronized. We acknowledge that we don't necessarily get the same opportunities as others. And so we said, what better way to ensure that our organization is helping others create generational wealth, but then to host a festival. So we have everything from vendors to bounce houses. I'm trying to talk one of my children into doing face painting. We'll have live entertainment, dancers. And yes, as you stated, the festival has grown over the years. But it is imperative that we, acknowledge that we need to create wealth within our communities. That is why Black Wall Street thrived, because our dollars circulated more times than they do now. I believe it's the average of African American dollars stay within their community around less than 30 minutes now. And so this is a way for other businesses, local and a few regional, to come in and take part in our community, as well as to be able to gain some income especially recovering after COVID.
And Alderwoman Lanier, you are determined to make that arena what it should for the community of which it's built. Tell us how you are uniquely folding in the arena as a backdrop for some of the activities that you all have planned.
Well, it's a natural fit, Alderwoman. That investment of the arena and the Canal District was placed there to build up this West Side corridor, to invest in an underinvested in area. So it's not reparations, but it's a start. And so that is intended to be an economic engine for this community. So this is the 5th year for the festival. We were on the actual Weeping Time property for the first 2 years before it became so controversial till we got evicted from there. And so my husband and I own a lot on West Bay Street. So the next 2 years we had it over there because it's like 2 blocks away. And this year, being the 5th year, we wanted to move up because we had so much outpouring of people who wanted to participate, that we moved it over at our arena. It actually is in the Waterworks Park, just outside of the arena. Now, the Waterworks building is the key, because the last council failed to put policies in place to drive the community benefits back into the community that was intended to help. But I'm going to work on that, because I'm going to fix that part too. So then we had one of our worst community offenders, Colonial Oil, after we worked so hard all those many years to get this investment, they put one of the worst community offenders' name on our beautiful arena that we worked so hard to get. And that was another slap in the face. However, I'm going to get that
At
handed too.
the irony, the part that I was taken aback by when it became the in market arena, we had just signed a resolution declaring that the city of Savannah would work toward being a clean energy community.
Yes, carbon
But,
neutral. Right.
but we named the single largest project in the history of the city after an oil company.
The
We
oil
have
company that is suffocating this community that we tried to help get a license in by writing, when I was president, a letter of support that our board agreed on in terms that they would hire some people at that yacht company, which they failed to do. They're continuing to build those oil vats without our knowledge. We're being surrounded. We don't have a plan, but that's another story for another day, and we'll come back. But their name is on that arena. However, we do have an opportunity, this council, and my late great brother, our friend, brother Victor Curtis Victor Cooper, and I worked so hard in the past that we could have a community market, an entrepreneur center west that would be in the Waterworks building, and it's written into the Canal District Plan. So we have a certain ownership over there that it has to be able to help us generate that economic opportunity there. So the Waterworks building, that will be the next community market and entrepreneur center. So we're going to set up outside of there, and you can see the purple plaques on the windows, and some actual photographs of people who lived in this area once, or still, there's some of them are still alive. Just ride by there at Styles and Gwinnett, and you'll see that lovely building that will be our community market. Well, we're going to be outside there. We're taking it to another level as we continue to grow. We're going to grow into having our fashion show with our African fashions and our natural hair show, similar to what they do in some of the large cities like in Philly, so we could draw more people and tourists into town, because the Weeping Time property and this festival should be tourism destinations. So many people, African American people, come to this city looking for us. Where the black folks at? Where the black markets at? Where do the black people go? And they don't see anything. They can't believe that this is a majority African American city, because they don't see us unless they're cooking in somebody's restaurant downtown. So we need to fix that, Savannah. And when we do, it's going to benefit the entire Savannah. And someone told me, said, you're getting in the way of what those folks are trying to do over there. But that's a good thing, because I do not want the forced displacement, be it retail displacement or housing displacement, to happen the way it is happening on the east side. Just keep your eyes on Waters Avenue, and it's not going to happen this way. And I'm telling you that right now. Don't come this way with that same thing, because it's a different kind of person over here in West Savannah. We've been here how many generations? Over 150 years, and we're not just going to sit back and allow any powers that be to come in here and take away our birthright of being able to create a community that is going to nourish our people and create wealth for our people, a cyclical economy where our people could be not only working in the car factories or working at the riverfront, but be able to be business people. We want to create millionaires in that center. We want to have these incubator stalls. That's a part of a program that will teach them business savvy, that will keep them in line and keep them be able to be in compliance with the law while they learn business. These people, these young people, they understand money. They understand economics, but now they need a little help. And so that entrepreneur center there will be the place that not only market rate participants can come in, but it will be the true economic driver that it is intended to be.
Yes, and I could imagine that the influx of tourists is probably birthed or spurred by the opportunity, or I guess I should say, the exposure that individuals get when they visit the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. I was so excited upon my visit to the African American Museum some years ago to see that they have an entire area dedicated to the Weeping Time that happened right here in Savannah, Georgia. So how is it that our nation's capital could have a facility that holds our body of hurt and pain and shame in their museum, and we cannot dedicate that land for a museum. We merely have a marker on Augusta Avenue. And as far as I'm concerned, with the argument as to where the property is, what is it or what is it not, and some people have been very critical in their remarks in acknowledging that nothing happened there. But I want to say this: the mere fact that the weeping time happened in Savannah, Georgia, as far as I'm concerned, Savannah is the weeping time.
Hmm.
And so you should know that these actions took place in Savannah, Georgia, when you cross our city limits.
That's right.
That's right.
That's how significant, that's just how significant those acts were.
Yes.
And it is incumbent upon us to keep it alive. We had a situation to occur on council similar to what happened recently to Jackie of Sloppy Toppy of Liquid Cafe, where an African American business was denied access to receiving a license to serve alcohol beverages. Um, I'm reminded of the Crew Lounge, uh, where the couple was seeking to set up shop there. They invested almost $500,000 in their business, and all they needed was uh, approval because they met all of the requirements. No
That's
one's
right.
going to make that investment if they don't meet the requirements. And so I saw how the community, a large percentage of young people, mobilized and took to social media and spoke up and spoke out on their behalf and were indignant in their advocacy for this business. And I could only imagine if we had that same energy when it came to advocating when we were trying to save the weeping time on council back in March of 2020. If
Mm-hmm.
I had it right, if we had engaged that sector of the community, or that sector of the community were knowledgeable of these actions, because I would venture to say those young people don't know that this even existed and it happened in Savannah. If we fought to save the weeping time like they fought to help the Crew, we would not have had that issue,
Mm-hmm.
because people would have been what we now call woke and
Yeah.
conscious, and the leaders who are sitting at the table with us would not have dared to vote against it because they would have known that the optics were on council and the decision making that was happening. It would have been a first true test of community engagement. But here we are, still in the struggle, still in the
Oh,
struggle.
okay,
Nonetheless, we
woman. I'm sorry. You attended a meeting. We both did. I think it was just prior to us becoming elected at the Civic Center when the officials from the Trump administration from Washington, D.C. were here to talk about the opportunity zones. And a city official stood there and said, when we talk about how the residents how it needed to be resident driven and the residents needed to be at the table and inclusive, that city official stood there and said, y'all can't get something for nothing. Nothing, something for nothing. You mean like hundreds of years of free labor, that kind of something for nothing? And they still, and so those people were fighting against us for many, many years that still sit in those offices. So it's a whole paradigm shift, that needs to happen. And I was looking at when we were working on the new zone, the people of Hudson Hill, we worked on our plan for 12 years because they really didn't want us to have a plan and they kept trying to stop us. But we finally finished the plan and we decided that the property in the Bayview area from Carolyn to Lathrop, from ILA Hall to West Bay Street, that we wanted to make that a Black business district. And we had it zoned to accommodate that through a new transitional zoning where you could have a shop, a retail property on the ground floor and housing on the upper floor. And we were so happy with that. Well, last night I decided to open my computer and go to Sages and look at some of those properties. And I was shocked to find that all of those properties now are light industrial transitional. I don't know when that happened. I don't know when they changed it, but that's the last thing we need or want. Now, that's another fight. Fight, 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 fight. All my life, we still fighting this fight. So right now, our motto for this festival is fighting to preserve our Gullah Geechee heritage. So here we are. And I often say that those folks, they're going to wish many days they would have sat down with old Bernetta, this old public administrator, this old political scientist, and said, let's negotiate. Let's sit down and negotiate for community benefits. Because the young folks who are coming behind us, such this older woman and such this Dr. Graham, Dr. Deidre, these young people do not, they see what we go through trying to do the right thing, trying to use the right tactics, trying to be decent and in order and proper. And I notice y'all don't have that kind of patience, and I applaud that. And I will be there to protect you, and I'll have your back, because they're going to wish many days they would have sat down with my generation and negotiated and talked, because these young folks that's coming, they are intelligent, they're brilliant, they're smart, they're equipped, they're educated, and they don't play the radio. So you could hear that.
Can I speak to that too, real quick, Alderwoman Gibson Carter? You made a point about not too many people knowing about the Weeping Time and passing out flyers and literature about the festival. I engage a lot of people, specifically around my age and the next generation below me, and they're like, what is the Weeping Time? And so it's this constant education of what it is. And it doesn't take them long to understand the gravity of the situation. The gravity of what happened, the atrocity that happened, in 1859. But as Alderwoman Lanier stated, there are a group of people that are coming alongside me, and that I am raising at the same token, that will not have the same patience, and it may look like being debatical or being disrespectful, but that's not what it is. And no disrespect to you, Alderwoman Lanier, because you are an outlier. I constantly tell my children that that generation failed us because we did not necessarily have the same tools. We didn't have the same resources. And realistically, it was by design, because the crack as well as the drug epidemic flooded our communities. And so therefore they were lost. They were, the blinders are on. But this generation, the blinders are off, the gloves are off, and we're coming to take exactly what we deserve.
Just let me slip this one point in. I try to tell some of the young people that, we didn't wake up one day. I'm gonna say woke at a young age, because when the young men in my neighborhood came back from Vietnam, they brought books. I was 11, 12, 13 when they were giving me Malcolm X, and they were giving me Stokely Carmichael, and they were giving me all of this material to read, and I read it. Elijah Muhammad, Eat to Live, all of these books, and I read, because the bookmobile came. I went to the bookmobile and I read the books that the brothers who came back from Vietnam gave us, and I'm talking the late 60s when I was 10, 11, early 70s. And so you have young woke people and you have old woke people. You have young coons and you have old coons. I mean, this is the expression. We have to code switch. And I'm tired of code switching. I'm too old to code switch. And we've worked in corporate America, we've worked in government, and we've been around, and we've been like bilingual, because that's the nature when you're trying to exist with in a systemic racist environment. You have to code switch in order to survive and create a monetary sources for your families. But I don't have to do that anymore. And so I'm departing energy and praying for the young people. They're showing up. And so now we have a West Side Neighborhood Advisory Council, and they are being equipped to do this work, because years ago, when we were working with the arena plan and the Canal District plan, I was able to get into that plan that when we get to a point that we're going to be providing community benefits for the community, it will be negotiated by a NAC. And that's another tool from public administration, which is a neighborhood advisory council. So we do have, out of the 10 neighborhoods in this Northwest quadrant, we have formulated a West Side Neighborhood Advisory Council, and it's their charge to sit down and to negotiate with the powers that be about the needs of these 10 neighborhoods. So they're written in the plan, and right now they are building their capacity and becoming strong enough or doing all the legal pieces they need to do to sit at the table and represent their communities, their families, their businesses. So the West Side Neighborhood Advisory Council is coming.
Well, we are so excited for that work and that mobilization, and we are encouraging other neighborhoods and neighborhood associations to look closely at what you're doing so that they could replicate. There is strength in numbers, and when our citizens are engaged and plugged in, that makes a difference where decision making is had with our local government. When citizens become uh, citizen led and policy driven,
Yes.
citizen led, policy driven. If a politician is talking to you and they're not talking about a policy, they're just talking. Decisions are not made outside of policy. But culturally, there has been a way whereby the citizens of Savannah think that government is driven and led by the politicians. We are flipping that, and we're getting closer to that being successful. Listen, we put information in the chat. I think the ad was up relative to the dates and times and locations of the events. We have another guest waiting to come in. I want to thank you all for stopping by to share with us. Please share more information in the chat if you desire as well before you leave. Thank you so much, and you all have a good night, and I'll see you at the festival.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, our next guest is Pastor Larry Gordon from Solomon Temple Church of God in Christ. He lives in the corridor where the Weeping Time property is and pastors a church there and have for many years. And so we're looking to him to share with us some information with regard to their commemoration events.
Hello, everybody, to our outstanding Alderwoman at Large, Kesha Gibson, and all things relevant, Mr. Julius. We are so glad to be able to share with you tonight because the Lord is good, and we have already started out with a blast. We're having a week of Weeping Time Festival. We were the first church, just like the Emancipation Proclamation has a commemorative service every year in the church. We thank God that we still want to keep that church link with where we're going. We never want to burn the bridge that brought us, the church brought us through the civil rights movement. It was the foundation, the springboard to get us going thus far. So, amen. And through the church and prayers, the black man has been resilient through time. We made rice royal. We made cotton king. We made sugar cane super duper. We made brick blocks beautiful to build a beautiful brick house. We were so many instrumental through our history in so many things. And so our outline for this week is on tomorrow night, a dynamic young man. He is the one and only bishop drummer, and he, amen, headquartered out of Vidalia, but he has several churches in this southeast area of Georgia. He's going to be the speaker on tomorrow night. On Wednesday night, our champion himself, the Reverend Leonard Smalls, the vice president of the Weeping Time Coalition, will be speaking here on Wednesday night, 7:30. Every night the services are 7:30. Thursday night, our citywide pastor, Bishop Willie Farrell, will share with us at 7:30. On Friday night, some people that was a part of the process, as a matter of fact, the Solomon Temple Church of God in Christ had its starting the same year of Yamacraw. And so we have to that, and some of the people that came out of that ministry, even from Yamacraw, the McRae brothers, Little Prayer Mission Church of God in Christ, and Jesus, uh, the Love of Jesus ministry will be here with our own local bishop in the city, Bishop Benjamin Payne Collins, will be speaking 7:30 Friday. And on Sunday, yours truly and Pastor Donald Lowe, God's Temple of Praise, will help us celebrate because the Bible says, despise not the day of small things. As we start, we are celebrating our heritage. And as we celebrate our heritage, it can have, amen, the significance and ramifications even greater as or just as well with the St. Patrick's Day celebration. So as we go forward, praise the Lord, as we go forward, we want to say, yeah, there'll be a lot of, if you come and we're going to have a hat, just like a banquet. It's just a drawing. It's not a lottery, but it's just a drawing that Barber Terrence Bush is going to give out some free haircuts if your name is pulled. You're going to have some beautiful fish dinners if your name is pulled. And Ann Bailey herself, the one who wrote one of the main commentaries on the Weeping Time, she did the research. She will chime in from New York on Sunday. The service is 1:30 Sunday. She will chime in from New York to say hello to us, the one who wrote the Weeping Time book. And just for a sample of what's going on this week, my choir is here in rehearsal, and we have people coming from all over the country, some coming from Dallas on Sunday, but we have, amen, a young lady, a servant of the Lord from New Jersey, going to say hello to you.
I bring you greetings from the Home and Foreign Missions Department of the Seashore District of the New Jersey First Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ. And
Well,
I'm so happy to be here to be a part of the home of the Weeping Time Coalition. May God ever bless you.
All right, come get some of this good singing, because remember, no matter how we talk, there have been bold statements that the people then leave the church, but the church left the people, and all these type of statements. But we do want to know that the Bible tells us, even Kim Kardashian came on television and said, 2 Chronicles 7:14, when the pandemic came up, and that says, if my people that are called by my name humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Also, Matthew 6:33 tells us, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness. All these things shall be added unto you. Under the direction of, amen, Mr. James Rush, he's originally from New Jersey. His parents is here. And we are expecting even Savannah State Choir to be here, gospel choir. We're going to hear from them a sample of this week.
Hallelujah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sister Keisha. Thank you, Sister Keisha.
Thank you,
Getting ready to shout at
Pastor.
you. We don't,
Listen,
until the resolution meeting.
grateful
Thank you, Sister
for,
Keisha. It's in your hand.
we are grateful for you all. Thank you so much. They could keep singing. I was saying we're so grateful to you all. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to being with you, and we just want to say again how important commemorating the Weeping Time land is, and whatever you all are doing on that end of the district, we are grateful for it, and so we're all in this together, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. We're looking to
Hel-
see you this week.
yes. Hello, Mother Gordon.
God bless you, precious heart. Everyone, be protected. Love
Y'all,
you.
y'all have a good night. Listen, this has been a great show. We really appreciate you all chiming in with us tonight. We want to remind you that as we come forth to you over the next couple of months, we are in election season. And so this is a little bit unique for me in that I am in my first term as Alderwoman at Large for the city of Savannah. So working and campaigning and governing and serving is quite a challenge. But I want you to know that you could help me get over the hump and make this campaign a little bit easier. There has been a lot said, there has been a lot done, but we are not going to worry about any of that. What we're going to do is we're going to go forth in the vein in which we decided when we first ran for office, and that was we were going to advocate for the citizens of Savannah, to stand in the gap and be there for them, petitioning on their behalf. We also said that we were going to be accessible to you, and that is extending our service beyond the Gold Dome. Our service to the citizens of Savannah has reached far beyond Bay Street, from Broughton Street to the South Side, and from the Highlands into our Eastern community. We have been there serving and acting in a manner in which citizens know that they could connect with us. And then finally, we stated that we were going to speak up and speak out for you. And we have certainly done that. And what we are looking forward to as the mayor of Savannah is going forth in that same vein, continuing to advocate, but more importantly, going forth in the vein in which we give government back to the people, going forth in the vein in whereby we have a government that's integral, a government that's transparent, and a government that is fully supportive of the city staff, because we know that the city staff is at the core of our community where services are concerned. And so we want to make certain that we are in place to aid in making that happen. We also want to restore the tenets of the Savannah Charter, which essentially acknowledges that we have a council manager form of government. That means we hire a chief executive officer that we call the city manager. That city manager, with salary and benefits, probably gets a package of about $300,000 annually. Well, I would say that that's a person who should be empowered to do a job with integrity, without interruption of politics, and with a high level of compassion for the people who serve this community. And so that is, we want to make certain that all district representatives have equal access to our legislative process, right? We do not want any district or any idea, initiative, or ordinance or presentation of legislation to be left behind. And if it is, we want it to be public. We do not want to hijack processes whereby we are deliberately singling out and closing out individuals who are carrying the voice of the people. Savannah, this is your government. I don't know, producer, do you have my website to share? And I want to thank the dedicated and committed audience we have for chiming in. Can you go to the website on the show or no? I wanted to present some of the screens on the website. So my website is now live. We will be populating the website with more information and dates and activities of the campaign. I hope I will see you out on the campaign trail. My favorite part of campaigning is meeting people and connecting with the citizens of Savannah. I don't like the part where it comes to raising money because I worked with charities for a number of years. I raised millions of dollars for local charities, from homeless services to rape services, for seniors who were nutrition insecure to youth who were vulnerable and members of gangs. And so it's very difficult for me to now take a pause from that work and dedicate resources to a campaign, but I gotta do it. I gotta do it to be a viable candidate in the race. And so with that said, I need your help. I need your help to help us be a viable candidate in this campaign. Now, in the previous election, my opponent outraised me. Let's see, she raised $200,000 and I barely raised 20. And we, in a sizable election, were able to claim the victory. And I am determined, I am confident that we will do the same in the 2023 election, but I cannot do it without you. And so I want you to visit the website, uh, click on the donation link. After you read information about me, there may be some things about me that you did not know. As public as my life has been, one would think they know everything about me. But unfortunately, there has been a deliberate intent to erase my digital fingerprint where the good works that I've done in Savannah is concerned. But how many of you know that what God has for you is for you? And so it doesn't matter what people try to do to you, as long as you take a stand for something. Uh, the people who believe in you will believe in you. And the benefit of what I do is, even for those who do not believe or support, I still am here to serve them and have done so as well. And so we want you to visit our website. There is a Meet Kesha tab that talks about my family. There's also a tab whereby you can kind of go down memory lane. We're populating it with pictures from all of the time that I've been in office, as well as some of the events and activities we have. And there are also some Kandily Kesha episodes on there you may have missed. But more importantly, as we go forth in the mayoral campaign, we want you to know that we intend to put forth a platform that welcomes the citizens of Savannah. We are serious when we say we want to be citizen-led and policy-driven. We want to be a citizen-led and policy-driven administration. Anything else outside of that is simply fluff. We promise not to gaslight you. We promise not to engage in tactics and scenarios that do not go to the greater good of this community. We need someone who is serious about really reducing crime in our community. We need someone who is compassionate with the citizens of Savannah and not raising property taxes and forcing landlords to raise rents that are pricing people out, thereby contributing to forced displacement. We need someone who's going to handle our homeless situation with a great deal of dignity and respect. Further, we want you to know that above all, we want to give government back to the people. And in as much as we want a united Savannah, we want a Savannah where there is equity. We want to give everyone equal access to the services as well as the offerings of the city of Savannah. We want to give people an opportunity to do business in this city. We want to eradicate those things that have been consistent with legacy contracting, wasteful spending. Savannah, we have a lot to do and we have a long way to go. I know we can do it and we can do it together. So listen, go to the website, kgc68mayor.com. Find out how you can support the campaign. There will be various activities with regard to several areas where you could help. Go to the website, share it, like it, and ask a friend to join you in making Savannah the best city in Georgia. Thank you so much, Savannah. Good night. It's been a pleasure being with you. I love you.